All right, welcome to Porch Beers. Trog, awesome to see you again. Thanks for joining me. We've got a special edition of Porch Beers today. This is new information to you.
All right.
Typically, we do a personal finance, an individual question, and then we follow it up with a bigger picture. Tell me a little bit about a particular economic trend or a North Star that we often hear in the media. We're going to shift that a little bit today, and I'm going to ask you to tell me about your year of minimalism.
Okay.
Our listeners don't know this, but this is something that you and I chat about from time to time. You do a theme every year personally. I find all of them to be quite interesting, and the approach that you take, but the year of minimalism was something that I think was relevant at the time. It was a little bit ahead of the minimalism conversation that has become a little more popular now, and I'm curious what your approach was. But before we get into that, what are you drinking today?
Boy, do I have a minimalist beer. Let's see. Well, I do have I'm back to the Toto Vapor. It's a Mexican lager from Full Steam Brewery. So,
Perfect.
pretty basic.
Perfect.
Nothing too exotic in there, but good to drink on a summer afternoon.
Yeah. I also have Mexican lager. I got the tall boy of Tecate out because I wanted to save. I was curious where this conversation was going. So I have two requirements in my beer today. One of them is more than usual. So I needed the tall boy. Two is I needed a lower alcohol content. So we're sitting in the mid fours, if I'm not mistaken, on this.
I got 4.8 on mine.
Okay,
so.
Yeah. I want to stay sharp. I want to stay engaged. But if this conversation runs over, I've got a little backup. So, and by the way, Tecate, great all day, every day. Not the micro brew conversation that we often go to, but hitting on all four cylinders. So, so first and foremost, define to me what your year of minimalism was when you kind of put pen to paper. What was the title, the bullet point opening conversation?
Yeah. So in my year of themes, I try to tackle sort of several parts of my life within the theme. So for minimalism, I can tell you kind of the practicalities of it, but I think in general, the thought was, what's making my life happy? And like, is there any place to sort of cull some stuff that maybe just being distracting to me?
Okay. So lean
what's
into
that like core
something or
set
lean
of
out
stuff?
of something.
Right. What's that core set of things that are kind of making my life good? And so a lot of the day to day ends up happening in, kind of the entertainment stuff, right? So I usually create like a reading list. There were some blogs, and I don't know if I ever read like Marie Kondo's book, but read about it. Those kinds. So there's a reading list. I had a music list of minimalist music, so I went in and listened to kind of how minimalist music has been in classical and punk rock and hip hop, and had a nice playlist to spend some time with. We did some activities. So one month we did a minimalist challenge. I think we actually maybe came back and did it a second month, where for each day of the month you give away that, or you get rid of that many items. So like the first day of the month you get rid of one thing, and the second day of the month you get rid of two things. Well, by the time you get to like the 28th and you're getting rid of 28 things, but you've already given away, you've already gotten rid of all of the days leading up to it. I think I did the totals, and it's a lot.
So we did that easily in the multiple hundreds.
Yeah. And we did that with some friends. So it was kind of like a challenge to see, could you make it through the whole month? And I think we actually came back and did that another month. So there's kind of just the physical stuff. And then again, just my sort of meta thinking, if I'm meditating or on a walk or something, I just kind of let that principle of what's that kind of minimum set that I would need for a happy life, kind of percolate as I thought.
I have several follow-up questions, but I'm gonna start with what you just brought up, which was your month of, for each calendar day, you gave away that many items. When when did it start to become hard? You think those first few days, it's like, you know what, I haven't worn this X in so many years. Let's donate that. I don't use this, whatever. Let's make sure that finds a good home where someone's going to use it. At some point, you're getting down to like, well, that was a gift, but I don't use it. Or that jersey is my friend's or my dad's favorite team, and even though I don't wear it, it has some sentimental value or something.
Yeah. It was probably mid-month. We kind of attacked it by room. So I think you've mentioned wardrobe is one that probably a lot of people can find stuff. Kitchen's another one. Like, there's all these kind of kitchen gadgets that do one thing and you use them every once in a while. The hardest stuff for me, I'll talk about the sentimental in a second, but some of the other challenging parts for me are it's almost like the insurance value of well, I might need this someday kind of argument. Like that's
Right.
what gets me a lot of the times, even with clothes, right? Like there's some, sweater that is great for 40 below, but I live in North Carolina and, do I
Right.
ever really need?
Right. You don't want to not have it, but you also don't need it.
Right. Right. So on the sentimental side, actually, some of the reading I had done, I got this idea and I actually ended up liking it. I actually took a lot of photos of sentimental things. So if it was, old artwork from the kids or newspaper clippings from, my high school basketball team, I just documented it in a photo so that I could, relive
You
the
still
memory and
have
have it spring back
memory.
up.
The
Yeah,
emotion could still be there, but the tangible item no longer needed to be in your line of sight.
that's exactly right. Yep.
Awesome. Um, who were you as a consumer before going through this process, and who are you after?
That's a good question.
On a personal consumption level, right? Like, I'm not saying like you sold your house and downsized, or you
Yep. Yep.
changed bigger things that impact the whole family or the big picture. But as somebody who one of our previous conversations we talked about your consumption of music, financial consumption of music or financial expenditure on that. How did you change? Who were you, and how did you come out of this process?
Yeah, that's actually a good example. I actually think in some ways it may have made spending a little easier for me for the right things. So I think I had a better appreciation for the things I use a lot. So I walk, commute to work. So headphones, right? Like I'm going to use headphones multiple hours a day. And
Yeah.
so I'm fine to have a good set of headphones and not cheap out on those. Whereas I think before it was more kind of cost minimization across the board. Whereas here, I think afterwards, I'd rather just not buy some things and focus my spending on the stuff that I am going to get the most use and enjoyment out of. So in some ways, it probably opened up my pocketbook a little bit more. But
Yeah.
the flip side of that is, I think I just there's some things that probably just got completely cut that I just
Yeah.
don't pay that much attention to. So
There's an interesting and very good book called Trading Up. It's probably 16, 17 years old at this point, but it essentially speaks to that of like your take on this was, I'm going to spend good money on a nice set of headphones because it is 25% of my day I'm wearing them. But I'm not going to spend good money on, whatever else.
right,
And it's not just
rims for my Corolla.
right. Exactly. So like you're not driving to work. You don't necessarily need that nicer look on the car or whatever. But the idea of the book, and I think perhaps this is a little bit of what you're describing, is the spending habits of an individual are not a perfect horizontal line of like, I will be the X level of consumer of all products, whether it's luxury or whether it's discount or somewhere in the middle. I'm going to find the right areas that make sense for me, that I'm passionate about, or that I find the most use out of, like in this case, your headphones. And I'm going to skew up a little bit there, and then I'm going to skew down in a lot of other areas. What was an area though where you felt like you skewed down? as a result of going through this experience?
Yeah. Probably, probably like house stuff, like house decorations. Like, I don't know, you see like the designs show or whatever, and it's like, oh, I love that lamp, or I love that.
Right.
And those knickknack, I was never a big knickknack person, but like, I've just realized personally, I like a clean room. And so instead of, buying a set of 3 or 4 lamps, I'd rather just have like one good one in the corner, so,
Yeah.
so yeah, I think I realized how much I like a clean physical living space, and that sort of decorating expense, again, once I've got those core pieces, I don't really need much on top of that.
I've been in your office at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and I can attest to the minimalism and the decor. There's a whiteboard. There's a computer set up. There's a nice set of headphones. But it's not overbuilt with art or a shrine to your accomplishments, career path. One more question, and then we'll kind of summarize. How did this experience and this year impact you as a parent, as a partner, and potentially as a coworker?
So let's see. I think for partner, this was one. Sometimes my year of themes are mine and mine alone, but this was one where it was almost more of a family theme, or at least for Monica and I.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a lot. It was fun to sort of have those conversations about value, and I kind of understanding where her line items in the budget, made more sense. Like her garden line item would be my music line item, right? It's like, that's what she gets joy out of. So having those conversations was really fun. On the parenting side, I got this again from my reading. I got the idea of, the kids' rooms is where their stuff has to fit. And if they want to bring something in, they're going to have to make sure there's room for it, which often means something goes out. So
Okay.
that kind of constraint, I think, working within those constraints, I think is good. One, just so your house doesn't fill up with, Legos that you're stepping on all the time.
Right.
And it gives kids a chance to sort of prioritize and think about trade-offs. So that was probably the
Their
biggest
own
change
space and have responsibility for their component of the community and the house that they're in.
Right.
Awesome. At the end of the day, did you get out of it what you hoped?
Yeah. I think of the year of themes I've done, that one has probably been one of the stickiest in the terms
Nice.
of the changes we've talked about. So
I think it's very relevant to personal finance as as an overflow. Like, it's one thing to have a nice, obviously a more balanced, internal point of view towards consumption and understanding where your comfort level is for what's around you. But it has an impact on how you value savings and spending, and where you get your reinforcement from, like where you feel proud. So I thought it was very relevant to these types of conversations. So I appreciate you opening that up a little bit, being a little bit candid with that process. Obviously, that was a more personal part of you, less about the financial and economic education that you've been giving us. So I appreciate you spending that moment with us and taking that.
yeah, sure. No, it was fun to go down memory lane.
And the tall boy of Tecate we're about halfway through, so we're good. We're good.
Right. Cheers.
Awesome. Cheers. Enjoyed the conversation. Thanks so much. I appreciate the time. We'll catch you on Porch Beers next time.
All right.